evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Les Brown's Motivational Monday Night Call. My name is Dr. Stacy N.C. Grant, and I am your host for this evening's call. On behalf of Mr. Les Brown, world-renowned speaker, coach, author, and world changer. That's the new name I'm giving Les Brown because he's changing the world with 100,000 voices of hope that he is building and creating throughout the world. So he says, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this call each and every Monday night. This is his way of investing back in each of you who listen to him on YouTube, who've heard him live all across the globe, and who are inspired by the work that he does. Every single Monday night, you can join us here for Les Brown's Motivational Monday Night Call. You can also follow Les Brown on Facebook at brown.les. That's brown.les. And you will be able to connect and hear the words that he shares on that page, as well as lesbrown.com. And I'll tell you again at the end of the call how to stay connected and meet some of his platinum speakers. So Mr. Brown has been traveling the globe, and as you know, when he is on the road and unable to be here live, he always sends the best. And I get to introduce one of those individuals to you tonight. He was born in Topeka, Kansas, and he is known as the Vision Breakthrough Expert. He founded the Success Immune System. Don't you just love it? A professional certified success coach, trainer, entrepreneur, published author, and dynamic speaker. He trains and speaks all over the globe to students and clients to help them really step into their vision and achieve their personal greatness. He has mastered the ability to help individuals see a larger vision for themselves, and he's developed a masterful system that allows them to increase productivity, improve relationships, and spend time doing what matters the most. As the author of Destination Mastery, I know him personally and know the kind of work ethic and the caliber person he is. It is a joy and a pleasure to work with him, and I get to introduce him to you tonight, none other than Dr. Ruben West. Ruben, are you on the line?
I am on the line. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, my brother. Great to hear your voice. How you doing?
I am, Dr. Grant, I am doing excellent. I just had an opportunity to speak at a graduation this past weekend, and I always love the opportunity to inspire the youth, so I'm on top of the world.
I know that's right. Well, when you are fired up like that, my brother, I'm going to put my phone on mute. I'm going to take out pen and paper because the audience has no idea what Les Brown has done tonight by allowing you to come on and share a message. So take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, life is like a checkerboard, and the player opposite you is time. If you hesitate before moving or neglect to move your men properly, your players will be wiped off the board by time. You're playing against an opponent who will not tolerate indecision. I'm excited to have the opportunity to talk to you tonight, and I really have three major things that I'm going to say to bring to you tonight. But what I really want you to get, and what this message is about, is a question. I have a question for you, and my question for you tonight is, who can you help? Get this question. Who can you help? I'm going to tell you why I came up with that, because I had the opportunity to speak at this graduation in Topeka, Kansas at my former high school, Highland Park High School. And I remember standing on the stage delivering this commencement address, and really it was interesting because all I wanted to do was to help someone. All I wanted to do was deliver some information that could help them move to the next level, help them to realize that they can achieve whatever it was that they wanted to achieve. And then I realized something, that I was helping somebody not because of what I was saying. I was helping somebody simply because I was there, because I had put in the work to work in the surgical assistant profession, and they had recognized the work that I put in and then wanted me to address the kids and tell them how I did it and encourage them that they could do it too. And so what I want you to know today is that there's some things that you've been given. Everyone here has an assignment. Get that. Everyone here has an assignment. And here's the key. Your assignment is not for you. Your assignment is to help other people. First thing I'm going to tell you, apple trees don't eat apples. Their fruit are for someone else. and it never produces more apples until it releases the fruit that it already had. So if you found yourself in a funk, if you found yourself stuck, that you're trying to get to the next level and you really don't understand how do you get to that next level, then I believe that there's something that you could be doing to help someone else that will probably free you to go to the next level. In other words, you're going to have to use that fruit to help someone else. Now, here's my question. Who can you help? I believe that there's 3 things that you can do to help someone. I'm going to tell you what those 3 things are right up front. Number 1, you have to realize it's you. Number 2, you have to move your mountain. And number 3, you have to be the testimony. I'm going to say that again. Number 1, you got to realize it's you. Number 2, you have to move your mountain. And number 3, you have to be the testimony. First thing, you have to realize it's you. See, it was interesting. I was at work the other day, and I was talking to some different individuals, and everybody was complaining about a certain situation, and they wanted the situation to change, but the interesting thing was nobody was willing to change the situation. Nobody really felt like it was their responsibility to step up and do something. And so they were all saying, well, when the boss does something, or when the coworkers does something, or when administration steps up and does something, then the situation would change. And I kept wondering, why don't you do something? And so that's my first point to you today, is that there's something for you to do. It's probably for somebody else, but you have to realize that it's you. She told you that I'm the author of the book Destination Mastery, 7 Steps to Viral Success. And in my book, I tell this story because one of the chapters is sacrificing for what's necessary. And I tell this story about my mother. My mother is a youth pastor, and now she's an associate pastor, but she retired from Adams Business Forms. They produced business forms. They made these forms, and they made them in triplicate or quadruple forms. They sent them out all over the world to different companies. But what was interesting is my mother started at this company way back when. I think it was in the 70s when she started at this company, and she excelled right away. And there's some of you on this call right now that there's something that you're actually good at, that when you really went into it for the first time, you realized that you were good at it. You excelled right away. But here's what happened to my mother. Her pay, her recognition, and her promotions did not match her work. That even though she was great at what she did at work, even though she excelled right away, her pay didn't excel, her promotion didn't excel, and her position didn't excel. See, at that time, it was a discriminated department. See, at that time, they discriminated against women, that they could do the exact same work that the men did, but they didn't get equal pay, and they didn't get the opportunity to move up through the ranks. And here's the funny thing. There was people who complain about it. I think you guys know what I'm talking about, that there's people on your job, there's people that you meet, there's people that you know that are always complaining about a situation, and they want someone else to do something. That's exactly what they did at Adams Business Farm. They wanted somebody to do something. But the question is, who was going to do it? And what I suggest that you have to do is understand that your job here is to help someone, and the way to do that is you have to realize that it's you. My mother realized, wait a minute, that this isn't fair, this isn't right, and I don't have to wait for them to do something. I can do something. And so my mother went to administration, and she said, hey, that this isn't right, that we're not being treated fairly, that this is not the way it's supposed to be, that as a matter of fact, I'm training these men to do this job, and for some reason they keep getting promoted, and I'm stuck below this glass ceiling. And you know what they told her? Be thankful you have a job, because there's a lot of men out there looking for a job. See, sometimes people are just going to expect you to play the background. And a lot of people go along with that role. They just play the background. But they want you to turn down your power. They want you to turn down your voice. The ladies understand what I'm talking about. They want you to turn down their knowledge so that they don't feel intimidated. And your question that you have to ask them is, turn down for what? That I'm here to help somebody. And I realized that it's me. My mother said, I'm not going to accept this. You know what she did? She filed the first lawsuit against the company. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. Just because it's you and just because you're trying to help, they're still going to come after you. That when you go out, even if you're going out to make a difference, a positive difference, you're going to have opposition. You're going to have people that come against you. That's exactly what she experienced. That they told her, you know what? We don't even want to eat with you anymore. They would block the chairs in the lunchroom, and she had to eat in the hallway. And I'm not just talking about the men. The women did it too. The very people she was trying to help, they told her, why don't you just be satisfied? Why aren't you thankful? Why are you causing problems for all of us? See, when you set out to make a difference, you're challenging the status quo. And so many people just go along with it. So many people just accept what they've been told. They just sit down or get knocked down. Here's what Tom Watson said. He said, if you stand up and be counted from time to time, you may get yourself knocked down. But remember this, a man flattened by an opponent can get back up again. A man flattened by conformity stays down for good. See, I believe that the opposite of courage is not cowardice, it's conformity. Why, Ruben? Because even a dead fish can go with the flow. She said, no, they may not like it, but I'm going to do what I was called to do. And she filed the lawsuit. And it was difficult. And they treated her bad. And guess what? Sometimes you're going to be treated bad. Sometimes people aren't going to like you. They're going to talk about you. But remember that your job here is to make a difference for someone else. See, my mom had to make a decision. Is she doing it for a cause or for applause? And she knew that she was doing it for a cause, that there was people that she wanted to help, including herself. And she realized that it was her. And that's what you have to do. You have to understand why you're doing it. I was told that if your why is strong enough, the how doesn't matter. You'll find a way or make one. And she went through the process of the lawsuit. And at the end of the process, there were some changes. And here's the great thing. The changes weren't just for her. The changes were for all the women. Even the people who didn't want it. Even the people who didn't like it. And what's interesting is once the changes took place, they wanted it then. See, once you make it happen, there's going to be people who jump on the bandwagon that while you were trying to do it, they were opposed to it. They were against it. But once you get it, they were really for it. They just didn't have the courage. They were like the dead fish. They were just going with the flow. But you made the difference. And the reason you can do that, the way you can do that, is when you realize that it's you. Now here's what else you have to do. You have to move your mountain. See, I believe all of us are given a mountain to move. I was just researching on the internet, and I ran across this story that my friend Roland Manny shared with me. It was a story about a guy in India. His name was Dashrab Maji. And here's the key. Dashrab, he lived in this poor village. Now, you have to get when I say poor. I mean poor. But on the other side of the mountain was another village, and the other village had far better resources, had far better farmland, had far better materials. It had the things that was needed. It had the medical attention. It was all on the other side of the mountain. The problem was there was no way over the mountain, so you had to go around the mountain. It was literally 40 miles to go around the mountain. And one day, Dashrab was working on the mountain. His wife tried to bring him something to eat, and she fell ill. And he said, wait a minute, I have to get my wife to the doctor. See, it's interesting. Once you have that cause, once you have that why, like I said, you'll either find a way or you'll make one. And so he started to take his wife on the 40-mile trip around the mountain. Now, somebody's got to get this. I said a 40-mile trip around the mountain, that when there's something that you want bad enough, you'll do whatever it takes. He was taking his wife on a 40-mile trip around the mountain. And guess what? They weren't driving. But on the way, his wife, who was already sick, she died. That this trip was so treacherous, it wouldn't work. See, when you think about it, there's people that you know right now that are dealing with some things that are so difficult. They're wondering if it's even going to work, if they even have the strength to make it, if they can literally put up with it, if they can stand it another day. Dashrab. He made up in his mind that no one should have to go around this mountain to get the help that they need. That there should be a direct route through the mountain. Now listen to what I said. He said there should be a direct route through the mountain. And so he was poor. He had 3 goats. He sold his 3 goats, get this, for a pick, for a bucket, and for some rope. Listen, he sold his 3 goats for a pick, a bucket, and some rope. And you know what he did the next morning? He went out and started chiseling on the mountain. And And somebody said to him, what are you doing? And he said, I've got to cut a tunnel through this mountain, that we should be able to move horse and carriage through this mountain, our buggies through this mountain, that we shouldn't have to go around 40 miles. And here's the funny thing. He wasn't waiting on someone else. He wasn't like the people that was in the lounge waiting for the administration to do something, or their bosses to do something, or the managers to do something, or their co-workers to do something. He was going to do it. And my question for you is, when you know there's something for you to do, are you doing it, or are you waiting on someone else to do it? See, are you waiting for someone else to fix your relationship problems because you and your significant other are passing like two ships in the night? Are you waiting on it? Are you waiting for someone else to do it, or you're doing it? See, if you know you're in a financial situation, and a lot of people know that they are, and the situation isn't good, do you think it's just going to work out by themselves? Or do you think that you're going to have to get some help with it? That you should step up and find a way? See, that's what I've realized. That if it had to be, it was up to me. And so here's what he did. He would get up at 4 in the morning and pick on this mountain till 8 in the morning. And then from 8 to 1 p.m., he would go work in someone's field. And then from 1 p.m. till late in the evening, he'd go back and pick at the mountain. And people started laughing at him. They started asking him, what is wrong with you? Are you crazy? That this doesn't even make sense. What do you think you're going to do with a pick and some rope and a bucket? Why are you out here? Do you know how long this would take? They literally started calling him a lunatic. And for some of you, when you go after what you want, there's going to be people who laugh at you. There's going to be people who tell you it doesn't make sense. They'll tell you it can't be done. It was our President Roosevelt who said, it's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. No, the credit belongs to the man or the woman who was actually in the arena. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to be in the arena. Dash round, day after day, evening after evening. Pick, bucket, rope. Pick, bucket, rope. As people laughed at him, as they talked about him, he continued. But here's what happened. It's a strange thing that happened. That after he had been out there so many days, and they called him a lunatic, and they still thought he was crazy, but they just came out there to watch him work. That they couldn't believe that he kept showing back up again and again and again to this mountain. That he just come there. See, when you start putting in the work, some people are just going to be inspired because you showed up. They were inspired when I took the stage because I showed up because of the work I had done. They were inspired. And we're thinking about who can we help. See, he wasn't just doing it for his wife. Now his wife was gone. He was doing it because he didn't feel like anyone else should have to walk 40 miles around the mountain. He had a cause. What's your cause? Who are you trying to help? Why do the people need to read the book that you have within you? Why do you need to start this after-school program? Why do you need to work with the elderly? Why do you need to help people with their finances? Why do you need to start a support group? Why do you need to help people understand that they're enough? Why do you need to help people understand that they have more than they need? What is it that you've been called to do? And the question is, did you realize it's you, and are you trying to move your mountain? Dash Rob, he kept at it. And here's the funny thing. After 5 years, he was still at it. Listen to what I said. After 5 years, he was still at it. See, some of us know that we want to go back and get an education, but we're thinking it may take too long. He spent 5 years just picking on a mountain. But guess what? After 10 years, he was still at it. Still at it 2 times a day. They said he never took a break. Even when he was sick, even when he didn't feel like it, he consistently went out there each and every day. Persistence pays. You have to have persistence. After 20 years, he was still at it. But at 22 years, bam, he had a breakthrough in the mountain. After 22 years, he could see through the mountain. After 22 years of discipline, hard work, he had the motivation, he had the dedication, and he put in the perspiration. After 22 years, he cut a hole through the mountain. 22 years? And what you have to understand is that we all have a mountain. that whatever the issue is that you're dealing with, it's your mountain. And nobody can move it for you. As a matter of fact, let me give it to you like this. Your mountain was given to you to prove that it could be moved. That somebody's going to look at you and say, wait a minute, that if they can do it, wait a minute, if Saccone can do it, wait a minute, if Myron or John or Dorian can do it, wait a minute, if Tatisha from Chicago can do it, wait a minute, I can do it. My question for you is, what's your mountain? And how are you proving that it can be moved? And the last thing you got to do is you got to be the testimony. See, sometimes God gives us the advantage of disadvantage. That what we see as a negative is really a positive. That we can't understand why we don't have as much money as other people, or we can't understand why we weren't born into a family that some people were born into, or we can't understand why we don't live in a location that other people they live in. But sometimes you got to understand that sometimes you're given the advantage of disadvantage. And what does that mean? That means that it's to see how bad do you want it, how willing are you to work for it. See, you never see a heavyweight boxing champion who was born with privilege. That they weren't born rich with a silver spoon in their mouth, and then they choose to get up every day and go fight to get out of this rich neighborhood. That's not how it happened. That they were given an advantage of disadvantage.
Okay, there we go. See, Dr. Ruben West, you were tearing up the line so much that it went berserk. And everybody just couldn't, the lines couldn't hold it. You know, we were going through the mountain. We were the advantage of disadvantage. It was all going down.
Hey, you know what? This is interesting because that's life. You know, and see, I love it that happened because that's really just representative of life. That sometimes everything is going great and then bam, something happens. But here's the thing. Winners find a way. I just found a way to get back on the call.
And we are going to put the recording back on, so just stand by because they are coming right back on. So just stand by 1 minute. Let's go ahead and get this going for the second time because you were on a roll.
Can you tell me where I cut off at, Stacey?
You cut off right with talking about the advantage of disadvantage. So hold on. Let's get us back recorded. It's not doing the recording again. I don't know what's going on with the system, but we want to capture the words. You know what, Ruben? Just go ahead with the advantage and disadvantage and talking about how that is a clever disguise that God gives us of really finding the advantage. So continue that discussion, and if the recording pops on, don't let it stop you, my brother, because this was an amazing message.
Not a problem. I just said that sometimes God gives us the advantage of disadvantage, that sometimes it's there to show us how strong we really are, that how bad do we want it. We have to dig deep. We have to go for it. See, one of the things we realize is when you look at boxers, you never see a heavyweight champion that was born with a silver spoon in their mouth, that they didn't come from privilege and decide that they were going out to fight to get a better life. No. That oftentimes they were from the bad side of the tracks, or they were from a foster home, or they didn't feel loved, wanted, or appreciated. And they said, wait a minute, that I'm not just going to sit here and complain about it, that if something's going to be done about it, it's up to me. See, that's why we have to realize if something's going to be done about our situation, it's literally up to us. Now, here's the thing. When you use the advantage of disadvantage to your advantage, you become the testimony. You become the testimony. I don't know if you heard it, but I was just sharing how my friend John McClung from New Mexico started this clothing line called I Am a Testimony. And what was interesting about it is he said, Ruben, what I've become to realize is that every single person is a testimony. Now, listen, watch this. Listen to this. Everybody talks about people who have a testimony. But he didn't say that you have a testimony. He said you are the testimony, that your life, the life that you live, the way you carry yourself, how you bounce back from that difficult relationship, how you came back from those financial hardships, how you put your business back together, how you started a business and was able to be successful. You are the testimony. Not that you could have a testimony. You are the testimony. So what amazed me about him is that he started this clothing line to let people know that I'm a testimony. And when I wore my shirt today, somebody asked me, what does that mean? And I loved it when they asked me. You know why? Because it allowed me to tell them how I am a testimony. And they said, well, what are you a testimony of? And I said that we can do whatever we put our minds to. And I told him how I started the surgical assistant company. I told him how I wrote the surgical assistant textbook with a few co-authors. I told him how I wrote my Destination Mastery book and the Change One Thing book that Les Brown wrote the forward for. I told him all of these things, but here's what else I told him, and I'm telling every single person on the call. If I can do it, you can do it. That we're all a testimony. That we're supposed to show up for someone. That when you decide to be the testimony, it's because you realize who you can help, and you realize that it's up to you, that you have a mountain to move. You were given that mountain to prove that it could be moved, and once you do it, you breathe life into someone else's situation. And so all I want the callers to do is to understand that you are there to help someone. That if you realize it's you move your mountain, and you become the testimony, that you can help change other people's lives. And so I want you to commit to doing this, to living your best life. And you have to do it now. And let me tell you why. Because you only get one. Thank you.
Wow. Dr. Ruben West, always a timely, impactful word that we can take actionable steps doing and see the results, help somebody. You know how I feel about that. It is the fabric of which real world change will be made when we can reach out and touch and help somebody else. And I just applaud you for the work. You're helping folks move through the mountains, the advantage and disadvantage. We did it in real time. This is reality motivation.
This is reality. Yeah, this ain't for show. This is for real.
This is for real. When life happens, you keep moving. You don't let it stop you. And, you know, when you talked about Bashra, did I say his name right? Digging the hole through the mountain. You know, that is something that we all can relate to. And I love the way that you shared that story in a way that he was able to take a tragedy, the loss of his wife, and use it for inspiration to help other people so nobody else would go through that kind of challenge in their own life and that feeling of loss. That's absolutely amazing. And I just want to ask you, how do people stay connected with this work that they're doing? How can they follow you? How can they learn more about Destination Mastery and purchase a copy for themselves?
Absolutely. So certainly they can reach out to me on my social media. That's my Facebook page. It's Ruben, R-U-B-E-N, West, W-E-S-T. Then I have a fan page, Ruben West Speak, R-U-B-E-N, W-E-S-T, and then Speaks. Also, they can go to my website. It's rubenwest360.com. There they can find the speaking engagements that I have upcoming. I have some information about my training programs. I do work with speakers, that people who want to speak, and also they need to know about Les Brown's Platinum Speaker Program. And so, you know, one of the things I'm excited about, and I have an opportunity to do this call and to be a part of this family, is that we're all Les Brown Platinum speakers, and so I love that. The other thing they can do if they're interested in my book is go to destinationmastery.com. destinationmastery.com. There they can order a copy of the book, and if they do it on there, I actually have some that I can personalize for them.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Ruben, and we are just so excited about the work that we get to do in this space and being a part of the Les Brown Platinum Speakers Network and sharing this work and vision that Mr. Brown has provided for all of us to tap into and inspire the 100,000 voices of hope that will continue to change this world. So I'm going to take a chance, Dr. Ruben West, open the line for about 2.2 minutes and see if we can get one or two of the callers who were able to come back on, because they came back on. They said, oh, Lord, it's getting too good. Don't stop. What's happening? And they dialed right back in, and they want to share a word with you, or they might have a question. I'm going to open up the lines and let them do that before we get ready to head off to our next call. So callers, thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming back on to make sure you heard the end of this powerful message. You're going to be able to press *6 to unmute your line.
All callers are muted and may unmute themselves by pressing *6.
Okay, well, we are in business for you to press *6 to unmute your handset, and you can share a comment or a question with Dr. Ruben West.
Dr. Grant? This is John McClung from New Mexico.
Hello, Mr. John McCullough. You are a bad man out there telling everybody about their testimonies. Great to hear you. Go right ahead.
Listen, first of all, I want to compliment my coach for doing an absolute fantabulous job. As usual, I am one of his black belt speakers, and he never fails us. And then I thank you for introducing everybody to the company. I am a testimony clothing. I really appreciate that.
Well, you know what, John? I didn't do it for the applause. I do it because you have a cause. That you make a difference in the lives of other people, and my work with you makes a difference. So thank you for what you're doing, but I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Awesome, John. Great hearing you. Anyone else that would like to share a word or two, press *6 to unmute your line. I see someone trying to unmute. Just press *6. I know our lines have been a little challenged tonight, but you're fighting through to say a word to Dr. West, so just keep fighting through.
Can you repeat your website?
Yeah, my website?
Yes.
Yes.
My website is Ruben, R-U-B-E-N, West, W-E-S-T, 360.com, 360, rubenwest360.com.
Okay, and we'll take one more caller.
Coney Prince.
All right, Coney Prince, go ahead.
Hey, Ruben, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Fine. Wonderful. Great call. Inspirational. And as always, even as you were talking about that, like the guy chipping through the mountain, I really wouldn't have thought that he would have took 22 years, but that just shows the amount of dedication and determination that we have to have. And even while you were mentioning that story, the only thing that kept coming to my mind was him thinking about his wife, and I can even imagine why he was chipping at that mountain. He was probably even just kind of talking to her, or communicating with her, and really keeping her memory alive. And I like what you said about like when you have a why, it doesn't really matter what you have to do in order, either you find a way or make a way, and that really stuck with me on the call tonight.
Well, thank you, sir, and you're absolutely right. Here's the thing. What I can tell you is a lot of times when we're setting out to do something, if we knew what all it would take, we might not do it. I think sometimes things stay hidden from us, right? And so what we have to do is just find a way to take the next step, find a way to show up the next day. Just keep coming back. Sooner or later, it's going to be complete. So I appreciate you tuning in. I know on behalf of Les Brown, to everyone on the phone, he thanks you, and on behalf of him, I want to thank you for showing up.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming back on the call. We're going to go back and...
All callers are muted.
And this time, Ruben, please share once again, Dr. Ruben West, how folks can stay connected with you, and then I will share how they can stay connected with Mr. Brown and the Platinum Speaker.
Sure. So, again, they can reach out to me on my social media page. It's just Facebook, Ruben West, R-U-B-E-N-W-E-S-T, or my fan page, Ruben West Speaks. If you had a particular feeling about the message, you're welcome to leave a comment there. Also, they can reach me on my website. It's rubenwest360.com, R-U-B-E-N-W-E-S-T 360.com. For the book, Destination Mastery, it's destinationmastery.com. So I appreciate you, and thank you.
You are very welcome. And Dr. Ruben West, I tell you all the time, and I will tell you publicly, you are just an example of excellence and mastery in action on a daily basis. You are an inspiration to so many. You are changing and saving lives, and I really am blessed and honored to know and work with you and call you my brother. So continue the great work that you're doing, just as Mr. Brown is just as proud of how you represent the kind of change that he is creating on the globe, and you are a part of it. So continue the great work, my brother. To everyone who has tuned in, thank you for tuning in to Les Brown's Motivational Monday Night Call, especially to our new callers for the first time who fought through with us to get to the end because the lines were on fire tonight. So we are excited that you're here. We hope that you join us again next week, Monday, same time, same location, and we hope that you have not only heard a word that inspires you, but it inspires you to take action. This is Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant. Make it a great day and an even better life. Bye-bye for now.